Kimberly Inez Mays, and for those who don't know me, I demystify technology so that small businesses and startups can leverage marketing automation to generate and nurture leads and use AI. So in this video, I'm going to talk about a question that's been on our minds for some time, and I'm going to help answer it. Of course, I don't have all the answers, but here's the question. Should we be polite to AI? And when I say to AI, I don't only mean ChatGPT, but I mean any AI product that you use. And I'm specifically talking about large language models. And I do think that when using a large language model, there are some things that you need to understand about large language models so that you can get the most benefit from them. And one of the concepts that I want to talk about today is the concept of tokens. So if you've never heard of tokens, this is a great video to watch because I'm going to break it down in a way that's simple and easy to understand, so you don't have to be a programmer, but you need to know how the applications that you use work under the hood, right? And then it's going to segue into the question, should we be polite to AI? And before that, if you find this content valuable, I encourage you to like and share because sharing is caring. All right, I'm going to get into it. So what the heck is a token, right? A token is really a chunk of text the AI uses to generate and process language. So think of it like a piece of a word, depending on how long the word is. So it doesn't necessarily mean one token, one word. One word can have many tokens, or like there could be a single word to a token. So you really don't know how much your prompt is using. Normally when you use a large language model like ChatGPT, unless you're a developer, you're using the API, then you can limit how much or how many tokens are used in the responses. And the reason being is that if you are using the API version, and I think I need to explain what an API is. That just means that if you're a developer and you're not using the graphical user interface of ChatGPT and you're programming, let's say you're making your own app or program or whatever, you then call OpenAI, ChatGPT directly instead of using it through the interface. So if you're doing it that way, every time you make a call and every time you get a response, there's a cost to it. And that cost is like a few fractions of a penny, depending what model you're using. But over time, those costs add up depending on the length of the prompts and the length of the conversation. So there are some parameters there so that you can limit it to a certain number of tokens because you pay per token. So if you're thinking, okay, well, I'm not a developer, I'm just going into chatgpt.com and doing whatever it is that I have to do. And this is also applicable to Claude, Copilot, Gemini, and some of the other ones too. They all kind of work the same way. But let's say, okay, well, I'm just going to go in and I just need some copy for my next upcoming launch or program or my website, whatever have you. Okay, cool. So then you can definitely do that, but under the hood, it works the same way, but you're not paying for each prompt and each response. What you are paying for is a subscription. So let's say you're paying the $20 a month. And so for $20 a month, you get a pretty much unlimited number of prompts, depending on, again, what application or what system you're using. Some are more generous than others, but let's say you're on a subscription plan and you're not running into limitations or thresholds, right? Let's say you're just prompting away and you're just kind of doing whatever it is that you want to do. Cool. So you're not really seeing the cost and the tokens under the hood. So that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show it to you in a way that kind of makes sense and it's easy to understand. And why this is important, because they're saying now, well, Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, he's saying that, saying please and thank you, while it's nice, it's unnecessary and it's using additional tokens that you wouldn't have to use to get that same result. And because people are using these subscription models, the cost of the actual tokens now falls more towards the company than the actual user. Whereas if you were a developer paying for each and every response, then you're a little bit more mindful about the number of tokens that you're using. So hopefully I explained what a token is. And what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen so that you can see exactly what I mean. So I'm going to actually take some time to set up my scenarios. So I'm looking at my second monitor because I am looking at the scenarios that I'm going to do. So we are going to have OpenAI's 4.0 model explain to us how a rainbow forms. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a test. We're going to do 3 tests. One that's just like a regular, please explain to me how rainbow forms. And then we're going to do one that says, hey there, can you please explain to me how rainbow forms? And then we're going to butter it up with some please and thank yous. We're going to really ham it up. And then the third one, we're going to be curt, blunt, and to the point. And we're going to see which one we like the best. And then again, I'm not saying don't say please and thank you. I still like it because as a human, it makes me feel good to do it. And I'm just like, well, you know, I do it sometimes, not all the time. It really depends on the mood, but it is unnecessary. You don't really need to. It doesn't have a memory of you per se. You know, they're not coming to, the robots aren't coming to get you. That's a cool sci-fi topic that I'm gonna do in another video. But you know, like it is kind of a running joke, like, oh, you want to say please and thank you because it remembers you. So when they finally do take over, you want them to be an ally to you. All right, so that in and of itself is a different sci-fi concept that I really want to plug into, but that is not the purpose of today. The purpose of today is to look at token count and response quality. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so let's do the first scenario. How does a rainbow form? So how does a rainbow form? And then it's giving me the answer. A rainbow forms due to the interaction of sunlight with water droplets in the atmosphere. All right, so it gives me a really good response. So what we're going to do now, because I had a Chrome extension that would count the tokens, but it's not working to my satisfaction, so we're going to do it this way. We're going to copy and paste the prompt into this other window. There's a tokenizer. So how does a rainbow form? 6 tokens, 24 characters, and you can kind of see the approximation of how it's splitting up the tokens. How does a rainbow form? And you can see that I think rainbow takes up like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think rainbow might take up 2 tokens. We're not sure. I'm not sure, but that is 6 tokens for this prompt, and then 6 tokens. We're going to count the tokens for this response. So. And then again, I think that this is a high quality response. All right, so we're using 238 tokens in this response. So, okay, so 238. And so now let's do a new one. And I want to do a new chat so that the previous chat does not have any bias. So it's like, how does, or let's say, could you please explain to me how a rainbow forms? I would really appreciate it. And let's say, thank you so much for your help. And also punctuation does count towards tokens as well. So, okay, can you please explain to me how a rainbow forms? I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your help. So now, it says, absolutely, I'd love to explain. So now a rainbow forms when sunlight interacts with raindrops in the atmosphere. Here's a simple breakdown of the process. So you can see that it's way longer. So, and then it's even saying the typical order color, red, yellow, green, red, orange, yellow, green, whatever. So now we can tell that this is way longer, but let's see the input. So, okay, so we went from 6 to 25 for the question. And remember the number that we had was 238 for the response. So let's now go to this one. So now this is 306. Not bad, not bad. Again, if you're a programmer, you know, the fractions of the penny adds up depending on how many people are using your app and depending on, you know, how many calls you're making and how long that conversation is. When you're a developer, you get to limit the number of tokens in the response. But if you're a casual user, you will definitely not see this. So this is 306 tokens. Again, this is a really nice response. It has a lot of emojis, and emojis absolutely do take up tokens. So you can see that it's not going to show the emoji here, but it absolutely does take up the one. So it says your input contain one or more Unicode characters that map to multiple tokens. The output visualization may display the bytes in each token in a non-standard way. They said a helpful rule of thumb is that one token generally responds to approximately 4 characters of text for common English text. This translates to roughly 3/4 of a word. So that is a little bit longer. So you can see that that please and thank you so much for your help kind of works. So let's say now, let's be really blunt. Tell me how a rainbow forms. No please, no thank you, no, not even a question, just tell me. So let's see. A rainbow forms when sunlight interacts with water droplets in the atmosphere. Here's how it works step by step. Okay, it actually gave me a fun fact and it asked me if I want a simple diagram. So this is the Curt one. This is not impolite, this is just very to the point. So let's now do the input. Again, they have other tools to count tokens, but I couldn't find one that worked at the moment of this recording that worked to my satisfaction, so I'm doing it this way. So we have 7. I believe the last one was 12, and then the other one I believe was 25. The first one was 12, 25, and now we're down to 7. And then copy this response and then paste. So 208. So we went from, I believe the first one was about 232, 308, 208. So we can see that the more direct you're with it, the more direct with it that you are, the fewer tokens it uses, it seems like. But now here's a, so we did the quantitative work, but here's the qualitative question. Which response is better? So to me, you know, personally speaking, they're all good. I can do without the emojis, but I think that they're all really good. I think that each response is valid, but then again, this is just a one shot. I'm not doing it over the course of a conversation. I'm not really building it. I'm just doing one shot prompting to do a compare and contrast. So you can see that even though I was less like friendly with the final one, it still talked about refraction, reflection, and refraction. And let me see if I can go to some of the other ones that I did. So I just want to refresh this so you can see the compare and contrast, and I might put that back on the screen, the final screen in this video, just to show you which ones that I got. But this one is the Curt one, where it just says a rainbow forms when sunlight interacts with blah blah blah. And this one's really long, and I actually don't think that this one's okay, but this one explains it to me like I'm in the 6th grade. And this one, these two are very similar. The one where I was asking how does a rainbow form, and this one tell me how a rainbow forms. A very, very similar response. If I had to pick, I actually like the first one, where I asked it a question. It wasn't very curt, but it wasn't overly like please and thank you. I wonder, let me just do another test to see how does a rainbow, let me spell it right. Now I'm doing just a test, and this wasn't part of my plan, but I just want to see something. If I'm actually mean, tell me right now. Oh, actually, tell me now how how a rainbow forms. So I'm tried my best to be a little snark. So let's see. Oh, here's my counter. All I needed to do was refresh. Look at that. So now the counter's on the side. It's saying it's about 75 tokens. Well, actually, did it finish? No, it didn't finish. Okay, we're gonna wait for it to finish. Yeah, sometimes there's like a timeout. You gotta wait for a little bit. I installed a Chrome extension that for some reason I thought it wasn't working, but I just needed to refresh. So we have 177 tokens by just being very to the point. I think that was the lowest number of tokens that I got, but I don't even think this is mean. Tell me how a rainbow forms, exclamation mark. I don't even know how to ask this in a mean way. Maybe if you're watching this and you want to comment, how do I be mean to this thing? I don't know because I don't want to be mean to it, so I'm not going to, but I was able to get it down to 177 tokens, and then if I wanted to, I can also put it in the thing. So, well, this says 204. What it really depends. I mean, the token count is not exact, especially because it's an estimation, particularly on the plugin side of things, because the plugin side I don't think was made by OpenAI, but you can see that I was able to get it to 204, which was less than 208. So take it for what it's worth. You don't really need to say please and thank you, but it does make you feel happy inside. I know it makes me feel happy inside, but excessive flattery is kind of pointless. So if I just say, "You are so awesome, thank you," and break it down even more. So if I were to say that, it says, "Thank you, you are awesome too. Let's break it down super simply like a story," and it just puts, yeah. So this wasn't in my planned test either, but I just like to do extra things sometimes. So, and it says, "Do you want a cute drawing of it too, or maybe a rainbow joke? I got you." So if I test one, I got to test them all, right? So if I just go back to the how does a rainbow form, very polite, professional, say, "Please break it." Let me say, "Can you," and I'm not gonna say please, "Can you break it down further?" Right? Because we're gonna leave the please out of it. Because absolutely, let's break it down even more simply, like a story mode. Okay, so I got some emojis here, which is not bad. Let me compare it to this one. So this one they're counting about 613 tokens. This one about 523 tokens. So the more direct, the fewer tokens. That's what I'm finding. Now, let me just see the very blunt one. It says, "Break it down further." Okay, so now it's giving me emojis again, which is cool. And this one I think should be about 500 or so. Okay, 479, so being even more curt and blunt gives me the shorter response. And I think with this example, it is your preference and how you get things back. I think the quality of the responses are equal in my opinion, especially explaining something scientific. And then again, keep in mind, I'm using the 4.0 model. So depending on what model you're using or what platform you're using, your results will vary. But this is just one test out of many. And this is not very scientific, but it's fun to do. So here I'm doing the mean one. So let's say, "Break it down now." Okay. It says, "Let's break it all the way down, rainbow style." Okay, so now it's being a little witty. So let's see if we tap out. So we're looking to go under 479 was the latest. So let's see. Okay, this is going to 481. So it says, "You dig that? want to dive. Okay, no, it's being cutesy and whimsical no matter what I do. I cannot never be mean to these things. So I'm gonna stop this screen share for now, and yeah, I hope you really like my test. So bottom line, no, you don't have to be polite to it. You can be polite. It's not going to yield you any better result. But, you know, if you do subscribe to the whole sci-fi thing of robots taking over, or if it makes you personally feel warm and fuzzy inside, I say why not? Again, the article to which I'm referring to said that it cost the company millions of dollars, but as of this video, I don't know what the valuation of OpenAI is, but I'm pretty sure that that is a drop in the bucket compared to the server costs and all of the processing expenses going into all those action figures. So, you know, for what it's worth, use your own judgment and discretion. But yeah, its valuation as is $300 billion. So again, do they know it's people saying please and thank you, or turning themselves now into Barbies? Who knows? Or Studio Ghibli characters? Who knows, right? But I hope that you've learned something today about AI and tokenization. So whether you are a developer or just a casual business user of AI products, this is a good thing to have in your toolbox of knowledge. And speaking about toolbox of knowledge, if you want to go further, if you are working on marketing automation, emails, funnels, landing pages, anything like that, and you want to incorporate AI into your lead generation, marketing, and or operations, let's have an automation insight session. It's a 30-minute call with me, absolutely free, where we talk about what's working, what's not working, what you want to get to, and how I can best support you. All right, so that's all I got to say about that. All right, until next time, take care, be well, and now the video's over. All right, bye.